Good morning. Happy Monday. Hope everybody's having a great start to the week, and that you are awake and ready to go today. As always, we start each day with gratitude. As some of you may know, we have changed the format for this quarter. We will be doing a hybrid. So we start off with our daily activities and then we will move into focusing on one of our weekly ones. So as you guys are joining us and coming in the room today, take a moment and share something you're grateful for this morning. It can be, you can share this in the chat or you can unmute yourself and share it with us as well. Good morning, Razat. I'm grateful for a good night's sleep. Awesome. I'm glad you slept well last night. That definitely makes a difference in our day, doesn't it? I am going to say I am grateful for just time with friends. Yesterday, we had a really great time hanging out with some friends. And also, I'm grateful for our MRP. Our brokerage had a bonfire party Friday, and that was really nice to hang out with friends. So it was a really great weekend of hanging out with people and enjoying this fall weather we've been having in Ohio. And so I'm very grateful for that. So I got 2 bonfires in one weekend. I'm following it up over here, guys. If you're just joining us, we're sharing what we're grateful for this morning. Good morning. Hi, Carla, Natalie. Good morning, Renee. Welcome. Good morning, Shalonda. If you're just joining us, just share what are you grateful for this Monday morning? And while we're doing that, don't forget to take time to do some positive reading today. Part of our daily habits are obviously the gratitude, affirmation, taking some time to read something positive, to write something, journal. Let's see here. Shalonda, good morning to you too. Grateful that your leg is feeling better. I think I pulled a muscle last Friday. Applied a lot of ice this weekend. Oh no. I'm glad your leg's feeling better too. That's never fun. Natalie, I'm grateful for another day and also that I did not play lazy and made it to the gym this morning. I've never heard the play lazy thing before, but I like it. Good job on getting up and getting after your goals this morning, Natalie. That's great. Hi, Chuck. Good morning. Welcome. If you haven't had a chance to share something you're grateful for yet, you can unmute and share, or feel free to pop it in the chat. As we're going through our daily habits today, the next thing on our list is to plan our day, to look at some things that we need to accomplish today. And one of the things I have found very pivotal in doing this is I have my top 3. I know some of you ordered the planner and I have sent them. I need to email some of you with the to pay the invoice. So if you haven't gotten it yet, don't worry, I will send it out today to you. But it's called the top 3. And this top 3 is 3 things that you feel are especially important to accomplish for the day. I usually tell them the things, it's the non-negotiables for the day. And honestly, there's not always three. It could be two, it could be one, depending on your day. But there's a difference between the top three and your to-do list, right? And so, and a lot of times, honestly, there's days I don't get my top three done. There's days I do, but I always try to set that top three for the day. So if you've never done that before, try that today. Maybe there's some comps you have to absolutely get done, or you've been putting off doing something in your business. Maybe there's something you're supposed to be working on your business, and you just haven't done it. One thing I know a lot of people are doing this time of year is their business plans for next year and kind of setting some expectations and goals for the next year, reviewing what's working, what's not working. I've heard also one way to do that is called the KISS method. It's like keep. I should have remembered what it stood for before I said it. But the KISS method is, what are you going to keep? I know, what are you going to start? What are you going to stop? And for some reason, I can't remember the I. Let me see. Is anybody else familiar with it? I'll look it up real quick. But that's another way that some people do their business planning, or kind of evaluate what they're going to do. I'm checking and see what the I is. Well, maybe I'm not. I feel like it has something to do with like change and implement. I think maybe, yes, that's it. Thank you, Shalonda. Had a brain moment there. So yeah, the KISS method. So what are you going to keep? So like, what are you currently doing in your business that you want to keep? What is something you want to implement? And it's different than start. Like I feel like, and I'm glad, because I always mix the implement and the start up. It's different than start, because starting is something new that you haven't done before. Implement is something you know you need to do, that you've got the tools to do, you just aren't doing it. And part of that might just be some of the ninja things, right? And then starting is, again, that's something new that you're thinking of starting totally fresh. And then stopping is like removing things. And I think the most important one is the stopping for me. Like I've recently stopped doing some things over the past few months that weren't bringing a return, and they weren't bringing an ROI. And you have to be honest with yourself about those things. I think those are the hardest things, because we feel like if we stop something that we're failing, or that, oh no, we didn't, achieve that goal. But sometimes, you got to go into things knowing that you're kind of trying it out. And if it doesn't work, it's okay, And I've had some things like that I've done before. So let's move on here to focus. So what we're going to focus on this week for week 2 is our customer service calls. Your clients don't remember your marketing. They remember how you made them feel when they were waiting. And this is kind of our science. It's kind of like a silent client experiment, but we're gonna talk a little bit more about that in just a second, what that means. But before we move to that, I probably should have put this slide first, but here we are. Don't forget your handwritten notes. So your handwritten notes are your 2 notes that you write every day. So this is part of your daily. How are you guys doing on your handwritten notes? Do you have handwritten notes? Do you have stamps? Do you have everything you need to make this an easy task to eliminate all of the hurdles that you might come across? Because if you don't, you need to, right? And the handwritten notes, it's so funny. I was in a group with some top agents, and a few of them had gotten these letters from particular brokerages. They were obvious recruiting letters, but they were sharing the letters and they were kind of laughing at how generic they were. And some of these top producing agents were saying, I just am a sucker for a handwritten note. And a lot of these letters weren't even addressed to them. Like they just put like, hey, top performer or whatever. They didn't even put their name on them. And we were just kind of chuckling about how impersonal it was. And I just thought it was interesting how, even us as agents, You think about when someone might be recruiting you or pursuing you, a handwritten note goes a long way, right? We all feel special getting a handwritten note. Missy said, yes, just started it back up. Good job, girl. Yeah. I mean, there is such a power in that. And if you do anything, I would pick the handwritten note over a lot of things in the ninja like priority. If you were like, I only have time today to do X, I would pick handwritten notes every time. Reviewing your hot and warm list. Take some time and first of all, write down who's on your hot list, write down who's on your warm list, get a shorter list that you can keep. And then I want you to think about what you can do to get them in contract this week. One of the things that we did this week with a client that is looking to do a buy and a sell is we did a Zoom call and we went over every strategy imaginable for them to potentially remove their home sale contingency, the timing of how we do things, the positives and negatives of each strategy. And I really think it was helpful for them. They left that call and they said, okay, we have some options, right? And I think people like options. They like to know what their options are and how it affects them. But I think by having that call, it changed their expectations, one, and it also helped change their motivation, two, because I think that they had a little bit of, let's just say, discouragement, because they would find homes and they would go in contract so quick and they never got a chance to make an offer because the area that they're looking at is, they're looking for the same thing that a lot of buyers are looking for. And so it just puts them in a position where with a home sale contingency that they just aren't as competitive. And they missed out on one property, and then the other two they liked, they went in contract before they even had a chance to get out. But we were talking to them and we're like, look, there are programs out there. There's a program here where they could have their home contingency removed by their house being bought by a third party. There's a cost to that. And we were talking about the positives and negatives of that, because when you're buying a home and selling a home, you sometimes, so I'm not going to say this happens all the time, but sometimes it can diminish the amount that you can get on your current home because of that pressure that's being applied to you to get your home in contract while you're in contract on something else. So you don't get to make as strong an offer on the front side because you have your home sale contingency. And then you don't also get to get the strongest part of the market on the sell side. And so sometimes, even if there's a cost with removing that home sale contingency by using a specialized program, it ends up being a wash because you can get, you can just have more option to get higher price on your home and then also negotiate better on the other home, if that makes sense. I might be getting too much in the weeds, but these are the kind of conversations that we need to have with people so that they can understand and look at those things, right? And part of reviewing our hot list and our warm list and even our customer service calls, which is our focus this week, is understanding that if we don't have new news to tell people, that we may have new strategies, right, that we can share with them. Maybe this week you find some solutions to the problems by talking to people. We have one client that's FHA right now, and a lot of the homes they're looking at aren't going to go FHA. And so we were like, okay, we may need to pivot on this. Like, how can we get you to a conventional, approval? And so they're re-looking at their pre-approval so that we can potentially move them in a better position. And these are the kind of things that we need to be looking at when we're reviewing our hot list, when we're looking at our warm list, even people that are on our warm list. Maybe they're in a lease. Maybe we find options for them to move forward when they didn't think there was one, right? And I think that's the difference, honestly, between agents who close a smaller amount of transactions and agents who close a larger amount of transactions, is because they are cultivating and finding ways to get the people they currently are working with to a closing table. And so that's just such an important thing for us to focus on, and don't let that slip through, the cracks. And then you end up, I don't know about you guys, but I've had situations where I thought, oh, that's not going to work. And then you kind of lose touch with the person. And then you find out 2 months later they bought, and you're like, how did they do that? right? It's because they came across someone who found a solution, right? Has anybody had that situation happen to them before? I know I can't be the only one. If you have, put that in the chat. Yes, Shannon has. Yeah. Yeah, twice, Natalie. Yeah, I mean, and sometimes it's just because we didn't take time to focus enough to find the solution for that person, or to ask the right questions, or to dig enough, right? So that's, and that's one of the things about Ninja is it seems like from the outside looking in, it's like, oh, that's so simple. But there really is a skill set behind each one of these things. And we need to dig deeper sometimes. Shannon said, sometimes I also think maybe the fit wasn't right and it wasn't clicking. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that happens as well. And sometimes you don't want to deal with certain personality types. Maybe it's just not working. But if that's not the case, we want to make sure that we're trying to see what options are available. So our weekly focus this week is the customer service calls. We're going to talk about Operation Silence Breaker. And so what we're doing with this is I want you guys to put yourselves in, I want you to kind of reverse engineer this thought process. So how many of you have ever were waiting for an update from a contractor on a delivery, from a service provider, from a doctor, from anything where somebody said, yeah, I'm going to get back to you on that, or you were expecting to hear back? How many of you have ever been waiting for an update and you just got silence? What starts in our minds when that happens? Right? I hope you guys are all picturing a time. Natalie, find someone else. She went right to find someone else. It causes uncertainty, doesn't it? It causes you to question that person or what their service is like. It causes you to wonder, is my delivery going to come? I hate that too when they say this will be delivered in 2 days. Even Amazon's been dropping the ball lately. They're like, it'll be there tomorrow, and then it's 2 days later. I'm like, where is it? But obviously Amazon, if you've had positive experiences over and over and over, you have some grace. But if it's not the case, then it can cause some uncertainty. It can cause doubt. Now imagine your clients that you haven't been doing your customer service calls on a regular basis. How are they feeling right now? They can be feeling that way right now with you. And I think it's important that we, excuse me, I think it's important that we're realistic, that we believe we're great a lot of times, but we're only as good as like the last time we showed up. Like I know contractors that I was like, you're only as good as your last job, right? Well, you're only as good as your last conversation. And in a market like today, when there is a lot of uncertainty, not even in real estate, but outside of real estate, it affects our clients' mindset. It affects their psyche. And so when we are silent and we aren't filling that gap, it allows doubt to creep in. It allows fear to creep in, right? We can be working on their behalf, and since they are unaware, it makes them feel some kind of way. Like we have to make our calls weekly. Absolutely, Missy. I mean, it's one of those things that like, if we know we're working on their behalf, but they don't see it and they don't know what you're doing. And so part of what we do as an agent, as a trusted advisor for our client, is we have to get comfortable with explaining and communicating how we're working on their behalf that week and what we're doing. And it may be as simple as I've spent a few hours this week combing over the activity in the comps, and here's what I found. Or, hey, I had a moment this week to tour the competitive homes in your neighborhood to see what we're up against. Those are things they don't know if you're doing those things, that you're doing them. And if you aren't doing anything, then it's a way to hold yourself accountable to get done what you're supposed to be doing, right? I mean, we all can have an off week, but don't let that turn into 2, 3, 4 weeks where you really haven't done anything to market your clients' properties, or you haven't done anything to help the buyer move towards finding that home. We can't get lazy, right? What did she say? What did you say, Natalie, earlier? We can't play lazy. We can't play lazy, right? So here's my coaching point is silence doesn't keep clients calm, it fills in the blanks with worry. And when we aren't doing our check-ins, we are allowing our clients to potentially get into the worry stage. And then when they start to worry, they start to wonder, did I make the right decision hiring this person? And when they start to wonder that, you are already working against them, right? It's like now you're not on the same team anymore. And so you have to really manage and watch that. And you have to make sure to keep worry and those things at bay. And sometimes I will even just say those exact words like, hey, we're not in a position where you need to worry about this. I know what the news is saying. I know what this is saying. I know what the market seems like, da da da. We just have to stay positive and focused on the outcome. And we have to encourage people because it's really easy this day and age to get discouraged. And everything, it seems like everything around us, whatever we're currently doing, whatever we're currently in, it seems like everything around us is listening to sell us worry, right? So when they're getting on their social media or they're scrolling or whatever, guess what's coming up because they're in that mode? It's feeding them worry. It's feeding them, you need a problem or this or that, or have you thought of this? And it's presenting new worry to them. So we're battling that, right? Whether we realize it or not. Missy, don't even get me started with the thoughts they can start having or other people they talk to or worse, other agents. Oh no. Yes. And don't be that agent when somebody says, I don't like my agent. My house isn't selling. Don't say, well, gosh, maybe you need a new agent. No, it's like, okay, well, let's talk about that. What's your agent doing? Why hasn't your home sold? What kind of showings are you getting? I help other agents. I'm like, it sounds like you need a price reduction. Like, I'll just tell them, your agent can't overcome the market if you aren't priced properly. Help people. So good seeds out there. But a quick call can quieten clients' biggest worries. And so when you're making your customer service calls this week, think, get out of your own head. Stop thinking about how it makes you look and am I bothering them and da da da. Start thinking of it from their perspective. Start thinking, I'm going to call them today to encourage them this week, to tell them, hey, we're going to find something. I've had clients where we have worked with for months, years even, before they bought. And I got one right now. I have a call today to go over her inspections. It's been 2 years of battling thoughts for her where she would reach out to me and I'd say, we're not ready. And I had to tell her, she was on my warm list for 2 years. I had to tell her, you're not ready. And I love you, but we still have some things we got to work out. Because I knew if we didn't get to that point, we may have found a place and got it in contract, but it's not going to come to fruition. And even if it did come to fruition, she was not going to be in a good place financially. And she knew that deep down, right? But she just needed somebody to keep her on task. And it happened about every other month. Because she'd start scrolling on Zillow or whatever and find properties and think, oh, it's time. I'm like, nothing's changed, sweetie. So, it's about encouraging them that, hey, trust me, when it's your time, the right thing will be there for you. And buyers worry about that. They have FOMO and we have to manage those expectations. But your check-ins aren't about having news all the time. They're about providing peace, right? How many of you have found that when you've done your customer service call, how many of you were happy afterwards? You were like, man, I'm glad I got ahead of that one. Anybody? And if you haven't been doing customer service calls, does this mindset help you to realize why they're important to do?
I have a client, Alicia, that almost always calls me before my calls. And it's hysterical because I said, I was just getting ready to call you, literally, almost every single time. So I have started to call him the day before I make my calls so that I'm the one that's calling him instead of him calling me. But he is just on it. And because I call him every week, and now he expects that phone call, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm making my calls on Wednesday, which I was doing Wednesday, I've now changed to making my calls on Tuesday so that I can be ahead of him every time. So I'm at least calling, if nothing else, I'm leaving him a voicemail.
Mm-hmm.
But Yeah, you got to make your calls, and people are expecting it. If they haven't been getting calls from you in the past, and then you start making the calls, you're basically you're hooked in. You're not going to not make those calls now. You're going to make every one
Right.
of those calls.
We used to have a guarantee. We say because when in our listing presentation, we don't do this as much anymore, but when we used to do a formal listing presentation, I always had the problem, the statistics, and then I had our solution to the problem. So like the problem is 80 some percent of agents historically do not communicate once they put a sign in the yard. I think it was one of those stats back then. And I said, so what we do is we guarantee you that we're going to touch base with you every single week, whether we have something good to say or not. And if we miss a week, we'll give you $100 off of your commission at closing for every week we miss. That's what we told people. And they were like, wow, we never missed. Like, and we've told them, like, we've never had to pay the $100. Because when you put yourself on the line like that and you tell someone that, you will keep it. Like you'll do, if even if it's a text, we'll say it might not be a phone call, but you'll get a text, you'll get a phone call every week unless we're out of town, you'll get a text message or an email. And I think it gave people like a sense of comfort, because they would go, wow, these people, they're serious. Maybe some other options are, you can, and if you don't have that in your listing presentation, I highly recommend it. Like find the things that drive people the craziest and come up with the solutions. Shannon said her lender does Tuesday calls, and it's one of the reasons you like working with him. Yes, I love a lender that does that. Oh my gosh. 100%. 100%. Natalie said, yes, this happens when it comes to, I'm guessing about the coaching. I need to go back. The thoughts and people getting their worries and all those things. So if you guys haven't taken advantage of it already, don't forget I'm offering a free coaching invitation for any of you guys, a free 30-minute coaching strategy session with me. If you are not making your customer service calls or there's some area where you want to improve, I would be so happy to talk you through it, to coach you through the mindset of it. I think that's one thing that I do a little differently when it comes to the coaching side is I really dig into why are you not doing what you know you need to do? And so we can help you get over that, whether it's a fear, whether it's a mindset shift. That's one of the things that I feel is something different that I do I think it's a harder thing to accomplish. It's easy to get a checklist and say, hey, do these things, right? But if we're not doing those things, we need to ask ourselves why, and we need to find out the real reason behind it. So yeah, you guys can go to Book with Alicia and just do the 30-minute real estate call. But let me hear from you guys. We have another minute here. What can you do this week? Do you guys have people on your customer service call list or your hot or warm list that you've thought about during today's call? Or maybe it was just somebody you were supposed to follow up with and you forgot. We all do it. I have 3 people I need to follow up with today. And I don't know why I've been putting it off. I think what happens is, to be honest, we put it off even longer when we didn't do it when we were supposed to do it. And then we're like, oh, it's going to be weird now because I didn't do it when I was supposed to do it. And then we start, that cycle. But I'm going to break the cycle this week, and you are too. I'm just going to call them and say, look, I'm sorry. It's been a busy past couple of weeks, and I'm just getting around to it. And that's just the truth. We all do it. I think they'll relate. But make the hard calls first, guys. Do the hard stuff first every day. And over time, you're going to see a big change in your business. So thanks for joining us this morning, everyone. I hope you're leaving with a little bit of encouragement and some goals to do this week. You're welcome, Chuck. You have a great week too. You all have a wonderful week, and we'll see you back on Friday. Bye, everybody.